Good morning. Hey, before we jump into today's webinar, I want to review a few features of Zoom so we can interact during our time together. On the menu bar below, there are three buttons we can use to interact with one another. First, the chat button. Now, right now, I want you to hit the chat button and tell us your name and where you're from. North Carolina, Denver, Colorado, San Antonio, Texas, Bulverde, Texas. Welcome, Liz. All right. We've got folks from all over the country. We are nationwide. The next button is Q&A. At any time during the presentation, type a question into the Q&A. Those answers will appear on my monitor, and I'll answer all of those questions following the presentation. And finally, the polling feature. Throughout the presentation, we'll take a couple of polls to get an understanding of where we are on our leadership or personal growth journey. Let's test the poll feature with the first question. How familiar are you with the Zoom platform? Take 15 seconds to answer this. Very familiar? Use it frequently? Good, good, good. All right, well, the good news is everybody's familiar with the Zoom platform and nobody's sick of it yet. So that's fantastic. Thank you for sharing. So let's dive right in. Welcome. I am so grateful and honored to be with you this morning. We've arrived at the start of our journey. If we haven't met before, my name is Michael Edwards. I'm a professional speaker, trainer, and coach on the John Maxwell team and president of the Edwards Group of Texas. The Edwards Group of Texas is a family-owned, values-based, purpose-driven, and customer-focused organization whose purpose is to help you discover and unleash your potential. We're based here in San Antonio, Texas, and serve clients worldwide. Now, as a former executive in the telecommunications industry, I spent the last 25 years developing leaders just like you, and I'm both honored and excited to join you in your leadership and personal growth journey today. Now, core values is a subject that's very near and dear to my heart. When I took the time to really understand what I value and how to apply those values to my life changed. I hope as we go through this session, yours will too. Now, this webinar is the first of a series of 3 designed to help you make 2021 the best year ever. Today, we start with the foundation, your core values. Then on December 1st, we'll examine goal setting. And finally, on January 7th, we'll look at uncovering your purpose. Now, this webinar is somewhat of a working session, so have a pen and paper handy as we go through the process of reimagining your core values. Sound good? All right. So before we can answer the question, what are your values? We need to understand what is meant by values. So let's take a look. Now, values can be described as basic and fundamental beliefs that guide or motivate our actions. EthicsSage.com states values describe the personal qualities we choose to embody to guide our actions, the sort of person we want to be, the manner in which we treat ourselves and others, and the interaction with the world around us. So in short, values help us determine what's important to us and provide general guidelines for conduct. Does everyone agree? Put your answers in the chat. Yes, yes, C, yes, yes. All right, it looks like we've got consensus. Fantastic. So here's the next poll, and we'll take 15 seconds to do this one. How often do you think about your core values? How often do you think about your core values? Quarterly? Good, good. Monthly? Every day. That's fantastic. Good. Well, the good news is everybody's familiar with their core values. Fantastic. We've got a leg up on everybody. Now let's talk about the difference between morals and values. When thinking about values, morals also come to mind. And while they're related, they're not the same. A moral is a system of beliefs that is taught to us for deciding good or bad, whereas values are personal beliefs or something that comes from within. What's distinctive about moral claims is that they are normative and not purely descriptive. They talk about right and wrong actions, what should or should not happen. Or on the other hand, values are standards to judge right or wrong, good or bad, just or unjust. Now, interestingly, morals have more social value and acceptance than values. Therefore, a person is judged more for their moral character than their values. Think of values as magnets in your moral compass. For many, we form our values as children, but don't recognize those values until later in life. And that was the case with me. Now, identifying your values allows you to use them when making decisions about your life. For example, knowing your personal values will help you answer questions like these. What job should I pursue? Should I accept this promotion? Should I start my own business? Should I compromise or be firm with my position? Should I follow tradition or travel down a new path? When thinking about core values in context of mission, vision, and values, I like to use this image. Picture a road on a Sunday drive through the mountains or a redwood forest, or in my case, Texas Hill Country. The horizon is the vision. What do I want to be when I grow up? The road is the mission. How do I get there? And finally, the guardrails are the core values. Am I getting there by doing the right things? Now, one thing to keep in mind when defining core values is that everybody is different. And what makes one person happy may leave another person feeling anxious or disengaged. Defining your personal values is the first step to living them, leaving you feeling more fulfilled and available to make choices that make you happy. By defining your values, you'll discover what's truly important to you. So let's go step by step and identify and define your personal values. Now, step one, think back to a time where you remember feeling happiest. Now, you can use examples from both your career or your personal life. Then answer the following questions. What were you doing? Who were you with? And what factors contributed to your happiness? It will take a minute to do this exercise. And I know that a minute is not long enough to really do this justice. So you might think about revisiting this process after the webinar, but we'll take 60 seconds right now. When were you feeling the most happy? What were you doing? Who were you with? And what factors contributed to your happiness? Take 15 more seconds. All right, let's move to step two. Now, again, thinking of times throughout your career or personal life when you felt most proud. Answer these questions. Why were you proud? Did other people share your pride? If so, who were those people? And what factors contributed to your feelings? And we'll take 60 seconds for this one as well. When you felt most proud, why were you proud? Did other people share your pride? Who were those people? And what other factors contributed to your feelings? Take 15 more seconds. All right, let's move on to step three. Again, using both work and personal examples to identify a time when you felt most fulfilled and most successful, answer these questions. What need or desire was fulfilled? How and why did the experience give your life meaning? What other factors contributed to your feelings of fulfillment? Let's take 60 seconds to answer this one. What need or desire was fulfilled? How and why did the experience give your life meaning? And what other factors contributed to your feelings of fulfillment? All right, 15 seconds. All right, now let's put it all together. Using your answers to the steps 1 through 3, Based on your experiences of happiness, pride, and fulfillment, you're ready to determine your core values. Now, there are many online tools to help you with what I call the value sort exercise. At the very top of your chat window is a link that will take you to a list of 300 values. Go ahead and click on that link, download the list. Once you get it downloaded, we'll take 2 minutes to review the list and pick out the 10 core values that resonate with you. When you've got the list downloaded, pop that in the chat, and then we'll start the clock. And this is what the list looks like. 300 core values. All right, it looks like we've got the list downloaded. So let's start. Take 2 minutes and highlight, circle, or write on a separate piece of paper the 10 values you feel are most important to you. It's a challenge picking out 10, right? Pick out 10 values that best describe you, that you feel are important to you, that really resonate with you. All right, we'll move on.
So moving on to step 5. Many people find this step to be the most challenging, but it's the most crucial step to determine what's most important to you. Once you've identified 10 core values that resonate with you, compare each value and place them in order of importance. We'll take another 2 minutes for this exercise. Once you've identified 10 core values, compare each value and place them in order of importance. In other words, prioritize your list of core values. Many people find this step most challenging, but it's the most crucial step to determine what's most important to you. Once you've identified 10 core values that resonate with you, compare each value and place them in order of importance. We'll take another 2 minutes for this exercise. Once you've identified 10 core values that resonate with you, compare each value and place them in order of importance. In other words, prioritize your values. I know this is challenging in less than 2 minutes, and you'll probably want to do a deep dive after this webinar. All right, we've got 30 seconds. And let's move to the next step. Once you prioritize your values, it's time to reaffirm that they fit within your life and your vision for yourself by answering the following questions. Do these values make you feel good about yourself? Are you proud of your top 3 values? Would you be comfortable and proud to tell your values to people you respect and admire? Do these values represent things you would support, even if the choice isn't popular and puts you in a minority? Let's take 60 seconds to reflect on those questions. And I'll read them again. Do these values make you feel good about yourself? Are you proud of your top three values? Would you be comfortable and proud to tell your values to people you respect and admire? And finally, do these values represent things you would put, sorry, do these values represent things you would support, even if the choice isn't popular and puts you in a minority? All right, 15 seconds. All right. So if you're still struggling to identify your personal values, here are some additional questions for you to consider. How do I respond to hardship or good fortune? Who are my closest friends? And how do I treat others around me? These three questions might help you clarify and prioritize your values further. Now let's talk about living your values. When it comes to applying values to your life, making value based choices may not always be easy. However, making a choice that you know is right is a lot less difficult in the long run. And while my core values were formed when I was younger, they weren't until I underwent an exercise similar to this to bring them to front of mind. Several years ago, I took part in a workshop where senior leaders were immersed in a concept called servant leadership. Part of this process was designed to understand who I was, what was my purpose, and what was my legacy. After undergoing this process, I was able to articulate my core values in order of priority. These are my core values: faith, family, integrity, honor, and ambition. Now, my core values serve as the lens by which I make decisions, the guiding principles in my life, the guardrails on my journey towards significance. Up next, let's talk about some tips for incorporating your values into your daily life. Now, in creating goals, it's important to consider the big picture. Consider the goals you're currently working towards and determine if they align with your newly identified values. Are you living according to your values in your life as a whole? Does your career choice reflect your values? How about activities outside of work? Are you spending time on the things that matter to you? I'll tell you a good way to really understand this is look in two places. Look at your calendar and look at your checkbook register. Those two things will tell you where you're spending your time. And when you brush them up against your core values, you'll see if you're spending time on things that matter to you. Now, using your core values to answer these questions makes achieving your goals much more fulfilling and meaningful. Now, long term goals will help you get to where you want to be in life. However, living your values is also about the small day to day decisions you'll make. In the moment, do you react to the situations in ways that align to your values? Now, I'd love to sit here and tell you that I live up to my core values all of the time, but that simply isn't true. I will say this: I keep my core values at front of mind and strive to be 100% every single day. Now, I understand that it's not always easy to make your actions align with your values. Here are some techniques to help you change your reactions and live more consciously in accordance with them. First, make a habit of reading your list of core values every single morning when you wake up. Now, I've used this practice for several years and it served me very well as part of my morning ritual. Next, visualize the day ahead and plan out how you'll live your values throughout the day. Print out your values and keep them close to you. When I first started this exercise, I would just write them down on a 3x5 index card and put it in my pocket. That ensured that they were with me all of the time. Make them the background on your phone or your computer. Set up reminders to pop up on your phone. And finally, whenever you find yourself straying from your values, analyze the situation afterwards and ask yourself, what could you have done differently? These questions are where the personal and professional growth really happens. So is anyone up for sharing any of the values they've discovered today? Pop those into the chat window. Okay, we're seeing some good stuff. Freedom, God, family, grace, financial independence, modesty, simplicity, understanding, wisdom. That's great. Has anything surfaced that surprised anyone? No? Okay. How about your feelings? Share how you're feeling. Pop those into the chat as well. All right, fun exercise. I agree. I really enjoy this. I'm going to be more aware of my core values in the future. That's fantastic. That is part of the battle, right? So let's do a quick review. Now, we know our values help us determine what's important and provide general guidelines for conduct. Remember, thinking of your values as the magnets in your moral compass. Ultimately, values will help you live the life you want. Based on your experiences of happiness, pride, and fulfillment, you can determine your core values. You can rank your values and apply them to the decisions you make and how you live your life. Does anyone have any questions? Pop those into the Q&A window. Ooh, good question. The question is, how do you handle situations where you work for a company whose values are not aligned with yours? This is a real challenge, and what I've been faced with. I've been fortunate to work for companies that have values perfectly aligned with mine, and then I've worked for companies that have not. And you really have to do some self evaluation, some soul searching, and really identify what's important to you. If living your core values is important, you may have to ask yourself, is that the right job for you? Oh, another great question. In the case where those core values might not be aligned with them, how do you deal with being someone different at home and at work? And that's a fantastic question. And it's important to remember to be a good leader, you have to be authentic. And authenticity is, being one and the same, both at home and at work. And, I've lived through some bumps and bruises around authenticity myself. And again, you really have to do some self-reflection to understand and identify what's important to you, because you really have to be that authentic person, the same person at home and at work. And if work is requiring you to be a different person, then you really need to think about, is that the right job for you? Is there something more out there? And I'll tell you, it will be far more fulfilling to you if you find a position, a role in a company that has values that are aligned to yours. The next question, a great question. I work for a large organization and I'm wondering if you can help us build culture and leadership development. Fantastic question. And the answer is yes, yes, and yes. I work with companies as small companies, sole proprietors, all the way up to Fortune 100. I've worked with companies with 10,000 employees, with 45,000 employees. And that's kind of my wheelhouse is the culture and leadership development piece. So absolutely, I can help. And I'll provide you with my contact information here in a minute. Well, it looks like that's all of the questions we have in our chat window, our Q&A window. So let's move on. Some additional resources. Later today, you'll receive an email from me with additional resources if you'd like to learn more about core values. I'd really encourage you to dig deeper on the subject, and I'll send you some links at the end of this session. If you'd like to schedule time with me to go deeper into the topic of core values, you can do so on my website. And that website is www.edwardsgrouptx.com. Now, I want to thank you all for joining me today. I am so grateful for the opportunity to help each of you live a life in accordance with your personal values. If you think of any questions or comments you'd like to share, feel free to post them below. And if anyone is interested in working together further one-on-one, please send me a message at mde@edwardsgrouptx.com or schedule a complimentary 30-minute coaching at my website. Again, that website is www.edwardsgrouptx.com. Now, the details of the upcoming webinars are this. Goal Setting 101 is happening December 1st, and Discover Your Why is happening on January the 7th. You can register for both of those events. Both webinars are complimentary. You can go to www.edwardsgrouptx.com to register. Now, again, I'm grateful for the time we were able to spend together this morning, and I look forward to coming alongside you in your leadership and personal growth journey. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. Thank you so much for this morning, and have a wonderful day.